Wayno gets win number 200, and we hand out some hardware. First pitch is next, guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 49 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pyatt, and with me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Will I Am. A congratulations is in order because, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on YouTube, the man to the right or left of me on my screen, not sure which one yet, is our fantasy baseball champion in our home league. And I mean, just claps for you, dude. I think, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just so proud of him. So proud of him. Unsurprised. Best team throughout. Dude, tell me everything's going through your mind right now.
I appreciate it. I mean, you know what? I definitely had a good team this year, and you know, it's one of those things. Like I won the regular season comfortably, and just getting into the playoffs though, like you just know, in any week stretch, anything can happen, even if you have the best team on paper. So, anyways, it's a good season. Glad that it ended the way that it did, and hey, I always say the hardest part is trying to do it again year after year. So that's the challenge again. So definitely happy about it though. It was a fun season and definitely a really, really good competition throughout the year for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, dude. Just looking, I just took a peek over at our Bringing the Heat League as well, and you're riding shotgun there as well. Shout out to Jason, who was in first the majority of the year, and you know there's still a week left, so things can happen. But there's a peek behind the curtain, guys. Will is just locking it down. I'm not surprised. It's what he does. And here's what we do: we talk baseball. Let's dive into these standings, Will. In the American League East, we're going to kind of truncate this, guys, because I don't know if you guys have looked at the schedule. We are a week away from regular season being done and dusted. Yep. And, dude, I don't know where I land mentally, emotionally. Kind of makes me sad, but kind of makes me really excited for the playoffs. Let's dive into the East, where Baltimore and Tampa Bay have both locked up a spot. Baltimore is 2.5 games up. They're 97 and 59, and then you got your Rays 95 and 62. And then the only other team playing for anything is Toronto. We'll talk about them when we hit the wild card. The Central is all locked up. Finally, we can breeze past this. Will Minnesota Twins 83 and 73, actually playing good baseball. Took it to the LA Angels, which, you know, I don't really know where we land on.
Congrats.
Congrats. But, I mean, they look good doing it, so good for them. And then heading to the West. Dude.
Crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. Let's look at it. Texas Rangers, 87 and 68. They turned it on. They swept the Mariners this weekend. So they're 2.5 up on Houston, which is a half game up on the Mariners, 84 and 71. Dude, you got the Astros and the Mariners. You want to talk about two teams getting cold at the wrong time.
Yep.
Looking at the wild card, that first spot is either going to Baltimore or Tampa, who holds it right now. They're 9.5 up. Then you have Toronto playing well. They're 2 games up in that second spot. And then you have Houston and Seattle. Seattle is a half game out of the third spot. So Houston's hanging in there for that wild card spot. But the beginning of last week, they were in first in the division. Where are we, dude? What do you think on this?
Man, I tell you what, as much as I don't want to believe it, I think Baltimore is going to win the East. Like, I think it's asking a lot with only a few games left for Tampa to close that gap. It just kind of feels like it's kind of stuck at 2 games, you know. And I think Baltimore holds the tiebreaker as well. So, unless something crazy happens this last week, I think Baltimore is going to win the East. Tampa's going to be the first wild card. You mentioned Minnesota. The thing that stinks, though, about Minnesota is Royce Lewis is hurt now, and he was, honestly, I think he's their best player.
Yeah.
And, you know, if he's out for the postseason, man, you know, they were already underdogs on whoever they play.
Yeah.
And, man, that's going to be tough. For Minnesota, their pitching's literally going to have to carry them if they have a shot. But congrats on winning the Central, the division nobody wants to win.
Yeah, somebody had to.
Right. And, man, you mentioned it. The West is insane. Like, the Rangers for most of the years looked like the team to beat, and then it looked like they were literally the Titanic, and couldn't do anything right.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer goes down, bats are cold, looks like they're gonna get boat raced by the Astros and the Mariners in that division, and now all of a sudden they're playing really good again, and that lineup looks awesome. And I tell you what, man, Evan Carter, let's not put the cart before the horse yet, but he looks like the real deal to me. And you want to talk about having a luxury to have a guy like that at 9 in your lineup. Dude, that lineup's incredible. And so the Rangers are looking good all of a sudden again if that bullpen can just hold serve.
Yeah.
But, man, I am worried about Houston, and I'm worried about Seattle. And you mentioned it. Now is not the time to go ice cold, and both of those teams are ice cold.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's all in front of Seattle because I think they play Houston and then play Texas for 4 to end the season.
Yeah.
But honestly, the way this weekend went, Texas is looking pretty. I mean, Houston got dethroned by
Kansas City
and Oakland, and then Kansas City the series before that one. And it's just like, what is happening? Like, you got to be this point of the year. To me, it's like swept or be swept. You're either a good team and you're gearing up for playoffs, or you're not, and you're gearing up for vacation in a couple weeks. And you'll see it, dude. You'll see it, like Pittsburgh right now. They're on fire. We're gonna talk about the National League in a second. You'll see these teams, all they have to play for is play spoiler. So I guess you got teams with some talent in Kansas City, more than Oakland, I would say. But you got to think, especially at home, the Astros would take care of business, and they haven't. So
yeah, it's concerning, especially with such a veteran ball club,
Correct. It's wild, dude. Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be interesting. That's definitely the race to me to watch. What happens in the West?
Toronto's in good shape all of a sudden. I mean, I think that unless something crazy happens, I think Toronto is probably going to get in as the second wild card, and I think it's going to be either Seattle or Houston.
Yep. I mean, a lot would have to go wrong for it to for Toronto to fall out. Just how the weekend's played. With 1 week to go, there's not a lot of margin for error. Let's switch gears to the National League. Will, let's just talk East real quick. Atlanta Braves, they're going for their 100th win right now. They're 99-56. They won the division weeks ago, it feels like at this point. You got the Phillies and the Marlins. We'll talk about them in wild card. The Brewers, they have won their they haven't won their division yet, but they have clinched a playoff spot. They need one more win, I believe. That's the magic number for them. So we'll see that probably in the next coming days. And then you have the Cubs and the Reds separated by a couple games. You got the Cubs at 82-74 and the Reds at 80-77. And of course the Brewers, I didn't say this, but they're 88-68. So they played good baseball. Man, that's 20 games above 500. Yeah. You look up, and this team that was middling throughout the year has played very well.
They're a different team with a healthy pitching staff, like with Woodruff coming back, and the lineups. I don't think ever gonna just scare you to death.
Yeah,
but it's good enough to go with that pitching and that bullpen. So that's a team to watch. I'm not saying they're going to unseat the Braves or the Dodgers, but that's a team that you can't just like totally push aside.
Yeah. Mark Canha, you're not scared of Rowdy Tellez and Mark Canha?
Canha's played well.
Dude, he has. But if he cools off, look out. Okay.
Yes.
And then in the West, I mean, what else is new? L.A. Dodgers, 95-59. Lance Lynn going on Sunday Night Baseball. I mean, I need a quality start for him. Like, I need a $1 million payday here, Will. And then you got Arizona. They played pretty well here recently. 82-73. I believe they swept the Cubs last week. I mean, that's right team, right time. And then we'll talk about the Giants and the Padres when we hit the wild card right now, William. Here we go, bud. You got the Phillies. They're 86-69. They're 4.5 games up with 7 games to go. You got to think they're pretty much seated in that number one spot. But this is where it gets fun. You got the Diamondbacks at 82-73. They're half game up of the Cubs, which hold the 3 spot currently. So you got an 82 and 73 Diamondbacks team. You have an 82 and 74 Cubs team. That's how close it is, guys.
Yeah.
A game back of the Cubs, you have the Marlins. A game and a half back of them, you have the Reds. And then you have the 77 and 78 Giants, followed by the 77 and 79 Padres. They're 5 games back of a wild card with 7 to go. I think they've won. They're 9-1 in their last 10. But I think they've won like 10 of 11. They are looking really good, dude. Is it too little too late for the Padres?
Man, unfortunately, I think it is. If the season was one more week longer, if it was 2 more weeks instead of 1 week, I think the Padres would catch them. I really do, because they're clicking on all cylinders, man. I mean, the pitching's been pretty good all year, but that lineup looks really good. Juan Soto looks like he's finally figured it out and looking like kind of his old MVP self from Washington days.
Yeah.
Bogarts has played well. Machado's had some key hits. But, yeah, I just think it's going to be too late. So focusing on the teams that are in there right now, though, you mentioned it. I really like the way Arizona's kind of found it again. I'm assuming Philadelphia's in. I've had them kind of penciled in for a few weeks now, but Arizona's looking good. They're playing well at the right time. You mentioned they beat up on the Cubs, which is they really needed to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think Arizona's in a pretty good spot if they continue that. And man, it feels like we're gonna have some sort of a crazy playoff between maybe that for that last. I don't know if it's maybe going to be a 1-game playoff or something for that last seed or how they do that.
So, boy, we should look this up. When they expanded the playoffs, they got rid of that game 163.
Okay.
So it's like tiebreakers. But I think
the Marlins, I think, hold a lot of them then, don't they?
Yeah, but some of the head-to-heads, sometimes it's not head-to-head because some of these teams only play each other 6 times. Which, I mean, I don't know if it's with the scheduling, it's impossible to, because they want to play every team. It's definitely something we'd have to dive into. And, I mean, when we hit next week, it's going to be pretty well documented. But
man, I don't know about you, but I would, I've said this, for the last several episodes, but I'd love to see Miami get in. I think they've got a fun team.
Well,
I get the feeling that it's going to be either Miami or the Cubs. I really believe that. Man, Cincinnati would be fun too. I just don't trust their pitching. They blew a 9-run lead yesterday, and I'm like, this is like total Reds right now, So I don't know. I feel like it's either Cubs or Miami, and I would give a slight edge to Miami.
Yeah, dude, no Sandy. I mean, that's official. He's definitely not coming back. And
Yuri Perez is hurt too, right?
Correct. He's done for the year. So you'd be looking at, and I mean, he looked good today, but you'd be looking at my main man.
Luzardo?
Well, he looked good yesterday. But big arm. Late night record here, team. Big arm, can't throw strikes.
Oh, Edward Cabrera.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like a game of, what's that, heads up. If big arm doesn't throw strikes, it's nasty.
Edward Cabrera.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude. That's communication.
Well, you've basically got a 1-2-3 of Luzardo. I guess you put Braxton Garrett and then Edward Cabrera and, whatever else after that.
Figure it out. 100% figure it out. Hey, speaking of teams that are sore on the pitching front, and I wanted to touch on this before we move on. The Atlanta Braves, man, have had some big arms go down. Charlie Morton, and then more importantly, Max Fried back to the IL. Fried is he pitched on, I want to say it was Thursday, and I don't remember what it was. I can look it up real quick while we're talking about it.
I saw where it was something about, they're saying a blister.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. So he would be able to start because they're not going to play in the wild card round. So I think the 15 days would be up. But if it's any longer than that, dude, you're looking at a rotation of Strider, Kyle Wright, Bryce Elder, and then bullpen days, which, I mean, those aren't a bad top 3. But you're looking at teams like the Dodgers and the Braves who are, again, they dominated the regular season but don't have a fourth starter or even really a solid third starter.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting, man. What are your thoughts on the Braves?
I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little concerned more about the Braves than I am the Dodgers because Charlie Morton is out. Charlie Morton's out for the first round of the NLDS. Like, he is not going to be eligible for that. So, and for anybody out there who, might not think that's a big deal, go look up Charlie Morton's postseason stats for the past couple of years. There is something that, like, switches when he gets into the postseason, and that's a big deal. And, Fried, I get it's just a blister, but he hasn't quite been right ever since he returned from the IL with a forearm. So, I don't know. Obviously, you've got Strider. He's going to be fine, but I'm concerned. I'm a little concerned if I'm a Braves fan. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Dude, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, you couple that with the fact, and we ran into this last year. You play in that wild card round. You just keep playing baseball, and the team that comes out of that round, whether it's 2 games or 3, has a lot of momentum. You go play this really cold team, so it's gonna be interesting. You couple all that together. Let's see what happens, dude. But this is why we love October and playoff baseball.
Yep.
If the Braves are gonna have a lot of success, man, I mean to tell you, it's gonna have a lot to do with this guy in the infield, and he is also your heat check player of the week. Tell me about him, Will.
Yeah, so I went down to Atlanta, Georgia, for my heat check player of the week this past week, and he's a guy who's small in stature but plays massive for the Braves, and his name is Ozzie Albies, arguably the best second baseman in the game now. This past week, he went 13 for 28, so that's almost 500 batting average, 2 home runs, 5 doubles, 7 run scores, 7 RBIs, and a steal. So that will definitely get the job done. And, as we were saying, if, with their rotation kind of banged up, man, that lineup is going to have to be clicking on all cylinders. And it has been most of the year. And, but, man, they're going to really have to lean on that lineup, scoring quite a few runs, I think, during the postseason if they want to get to where they ultimately want to get to. Yeah,
dude, what's not to like about this guy? He is a switch hitter, plays with a lot of grit out there defensively, and he's kind of like you don't even mention him in the top 3 or 4 people that you talk about when you talk about the Braves, but Ozzie Albies is that guy.
He's such a good player.
He really is, dude. I stayed National League as well. This is a team not as well seated in a playoff spot. We are talking the Cincinnati Reds and Christian Encarnacio Strand. This was the guy in the middle of the season. This was the hot dude on the tip of every fantasy guy's tongue because he had all this potential, a lot of pop in the minors, and he's really had a pretty solid year or a cup of coffee the second half. This week, though, 6 of 17 with 3 homers and 5 RBIs. And they're looking at him, along with the other young guns, to kind of push them over the top and get into that third wild card spot. Anything on CES, Will?
Man, I like him a lot. I think he's going to be you talk about a sleeper going into next year that's kind of under the radar right now. I think you could possibly buy low on him potentially in 2024. And that might be the last time you're able to get him kind of in the mid to late rounds for a long time.
Yeah, I like that, dude, for sure.
Oh, reminds me a little bit of a more refined Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And I mean that in a really positive way. Torkelson looks like he's starting to figure some things out.
Yeah.
But I think Encarnacio Strand is a more polished hitter. But still has pretty much all of the raw power that somebody like Torkelson has.
Yep. Dude, if Torkelson can come up with that average, I think the pop's going to be there, like you said.
I think he will. I think it's just taking some time, but he's starting to put it together.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, I didn't draft him this year because of what he did to me last year. Maybe, Torque Daddy, he'll put it together and be a big piece in our
He's getting there.
Drafts. Dude, yes. So I'm talking about 2024. Let's go. Okay, what's on the grill with Will? Moving on, guys. Let's throw down some protein and see what gets cooking. Wayno gets win number 200 of his career. I mean, what about that guy? And what's been an otherwise embarrassing year for the Cards and really Adam Wainwright. I mean, tough year. Some light shine through on Monday in the form of a 1-0 win where he picked up his 200th victory of his career. I mean, Will, in a time where the win is kind of devalued because it's it's so dependent on what team you play for and what kind of bullpen's behind you. This is still pretty cool, right?
Absolutely. I tell you what, I was watching the game against the Brewers, and man, I tell you what, I'll say this: I loved seeing him being able to do it that way. Because I know there were some people, in the media talking about, well, are they going to bring him in like in the 5th inning in a game that they're winning in order to get the win, And I'm like, let's don't do that. I get it, but let's not have to do that. But, man, I was so happy to see him do it this way. He threw like 7 shutout innings against the team that's going to win the Central. And I don't know. I just really enjoyed watching. It was vintage Wainwright. He was topping out at about 87 miles an hour, flipping the curveball up there to keep him off balance. And, man, I was just happy for him. He seems like a super great guy. Yep. I think he's got a great future in broadcasting as well, should he decide to continue to move forward with that.
For sure.
But, yeah, just super happy for him. And it speaks to the just overall quality and longevity of an incredible career for someone to be able to get to 200 wins, especially in today's day and age. So congratulations to him. Super happy that he did it.
Yeah, dude, it's just the stuff that statues are made of. So,
yeah.
You go
he's
out.
He's a legend in Cardinal. He's a legend for the St. Louis Cardinals.
He really is. And, he had obviously – could have went out last year with, Yachty and Pujols and whatnot. But I think this is what he was really fighting for, He knew if he could come back and pitch well, I don't think any of us saw what happened to the Cardinals, I think he thought he had a lot of opportunities to get a lot of wins. And, it didn't fall that way, but he hit number 200. And I love everything you said. I heard exactly what you did in the fact that they wanted to bring him in late in games. And it's I don't like it. Don't do it. And, I mean – how awesome was it that it 1-0 win against one of your division rivals? I do couldn't be anything more than happy for him. Will, not really the guy who's closest on this list, but the most obvious active pitcher. I'll tell you how many wins he has. I want you to see if you can guess who it is. Okay, 144 wins. Plays for an American League team.
144 wins. Man.
In the East. We don't like him.
Garrett Cole.
That's it. There's guys that are closer, but I don't think they're going to get there.
Yeah.
So
he's got a shot. He's got a shot if he stays healthy.
Oh, for sure. 32. Yeah, dude. I think he'll get there. I think he's the next guy we'll see. The rest of them were good names. Yeah. But no shot. It's tough to get to 200, man. It really is.
Yeah. And that's going to take Cole. So if he's got 144 now, it's going to take him at minimum probably 3 or 4 years at minimum.
Yeah, like solid years.
Yes.
So it'll be fun to watch, dude. It's good for Wayno. We're super happy for him.
Absolutely.
Dude, I'm gonna pitch it to you for this guy's name.
Junior Caminero.
Dude, that is slick as can be. Caminero has come up for the Rays from Double-A. This dude was crushing it in Single-A and then did the same in Double-A. What about these numbers? A 309 batting average. He slashed 309, 373, 548 with 20 homers in 81 games. Dude, good defensively as well. You're a Rays fan. This is a Rays prospect. He's coming to the show trying to help this team get to the playoffs or at least win the division. We'll see what happens. Anything on this guy real quick?
Yeah, I just I didn't expect him to get caught up until at the earliest mid-year next year.
He's a young guy.
Yes, but due to all the injuries, they needed him. And so I'm excited about it. He's still really raw, but man, he's gonna be a really good one. I mean, this is probably, being a Rays fan, this is as hyped of a batting prospect that they've had. The only one that was more hyped was Wander Franco. You know, and say what you want about Wander Franco, but on the field,
yeah,
he was good.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about Junior. He's got super good power. He honestly, he looks like a little bit trimmed down version of Yandy Diaz. And man, I'm very excited. I think he's going to be a really good one for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, I like that dude. Curtis Meade for you guys as well.
He's looking good
and played really well. I was watching the Rays game yesterday. I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
So often when you're watching Tampa Bay guys, you're like, what is his name? And I was like, son of a gun, that's the Curtis Meade. He's been
and shout out to Isaac Paredes.
Yeah,
he was an afterthought in the trade a couple of years ago with the Tigers.
Yep.
And he is blossoming into like just a stud middle of the order guy for Tampa. And man, they just do it year after year. And I don't know. I mean, they've lost so many guys due to injuries. It's going to be tough for them to make it all the way this year. But man, they're fun to watch still.
Yeah, dude. Listen, you got all the young talent in the world with that team, and that's must be nice. You know what I mean? That must be nice. Let's move on to our last topic here on the grill. Will, I don't know if you saw this. Miguel Cabrera played his final series in Oakland. And, you know, obviously you go to Fenway for your last time. That's got to be pretty surreal. Or, you know, Wrigley or all these iconic stadiums. So they've done this farewell tour with him where people are giving him different gifts. And this one it really picked up a ton of steam because of what they gave him. They gave him a bottle of wine, and it didn't take the internet long to realize that it was like an $80 Cabernet. Is this the most Oakland thing ever?
It has to be, right?
I mean,
at least they gave him something, right? So,
that's true.
You know, it's I don't know, it's kind of par for the course. I mean, I view Oakland, the Angels, I don't know, there's probably somebody else out there, maybe the Rockies, just super dysfunctional.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not surprised at anything that those teams come up with or do. So yeah. Hopefully it was an honest mistake, but it probably wasn't. But it's just kind of par for the course.
Well, two things here. One more serious, and then one, it's kind of I got to know your thoughts. He went to rehab for alcohol use. So
I do remember that.
Yeah, I got to thinking, was that him? I mean, this happens with so many people that I couldn't remember. I did a little research. So that's kind of an odd gift. I did some reading though. Apparently, he might collect wine. Is what somebody was saying in the comments.
That makes sense.
Fingers crossed. Maybe he's collecting wine. But do you think it's better or worse than Baltimore, who gifted him a brick from Camden Yards warehouse? It just has a brick with his name on it. So
you know what though, I'm okay with something like that though. I mean, if you're at all into history or kind of the history of the game, I'm okay with that because I mean Camden Yards is
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's evolved into one of the coolest stadiums still in all of major leagues, and seems like kind of a unique gift, from Baltimore. So I mean, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I go both ways. The picture's the most hilarious thing. If you guys want to Google it later, because he's just, what else is he going to do? He's just cheesing it, but he's holding this brick. Yeah. And I get it too, like the iconic right field, tapestry back there. It's really cool, and I've never been, but I'd love to go. Yes. I think it's got to be like one of the cooler ballpark things. But it did crack me up because I was like, I wonder if this is the worst gift. And I'm like, this has an argument. You're the man, Miggy. I wish you all the happiness in retirement, man. Okay, Will, it is time for the first annual BTH Award Show. Here we go. There's two different.
I am excited about this.
I'll let him finish. There's two different clapping. There's clapping and there's cheering. I've been exploring these audios. Here's one. Let's see. See? Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, guys, we're super excited about it. This was Will's idea. This is his baby. I thought it was so cool. Kind of, fantasy season is winding down, as the regular season is as well. You have championship weeks for a lot of leagues, either this week or next week, and obviously can't be the week after that because we're talking playoff baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So Will said, hey, let's hand out some hardware. Let's hand out some awards. What we're going to do is we have some more standard awards, like the MVP, the least valuable player, risers, followers, stuff like that. You'll see. And then we have 4 kind of mystery awards where we're going to hear the name, and then I'm going to try and guess. And we're going to try and guess whose is who. So I'm pretty excited about this. I really like this idea. Let's start out with the most valuable player. Take it away, Will.
All right, so MVP. So here's the thing. Let me just throw a caveat out there. So here's the thing. The best player, I don't think there's any doubt who the best player was this year. It was Ronald Acuna.
Yeah.
But the direction I decided to go with the MVP for the fantasy awards this year was a guy who obviously had an incredible season. You have to have an incredible season in order to be up for this award.
Mm-hmm.
But considering where he went in drafts at the beginning of the season, this is the reason why I've picked him for the MVP, because Acuna, he was top 3 pretty much overall in any draft going into this year, right? So we expected a great season. We just maybe didn't expect this.
Yeah.
But the guy I'm going with is Corbin Carroll from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Just an absolute incredible season. He's eligible at all 3 outfield spots if you play specific positions. Steals bases, hits for power, hits for a solid average. And guess what? This is his first full season in the bigs. He's only going to get better.
Yep.
So, man, my MVP, like I said, based on where he went in the drafts prior to the season, coupled with the production we've seen over the span of the year, I'm going Corbin Carroll.
Yep, dude, that's a great pick. I mean, some drafts he wasn't drafted. Some drafts he was like later rounds. So
yeah, it's incredible.
And if he went like 10 or 12, it was like, whoa, that's a crazy pick right there. And we had Julio in 22, and every year you're not gonna have a guy like this. We've had back-to-back just absolute standout prospects come up and do their thing. And I love that one, dude. 50 bags. I mean, that's special. A 284 average, 25 home runs, 73 RBIs, and 50 stolen bases. That is that's not hurting you anywhere, man. And I like it a lot. I'm glad you said what you said about Acuna as I roll out my guy, because I wanted to say Acuna, but I didn't. I had him on one team. It was a roto. I just, it was nice to have him, but I was kind of like, do a lot of decisions here. You just leave him in there.
Correct.
I went with Mookie Betts for one reason only. He has second base, shortstop, and outfield eligibility in a couple of leagues I have him in, and it just gives you so much freedom. And you couple that with what he's been doing on the year, it's unbelievable. They were saying this just happened. I think last night he set the record for most RBIs from a leadoff hitter.
I saw that
with 105. I mean, this dude's nuts. And if Acuna didn't exist, he would be the MVP once again. But what about a 309 average, 39 home runs? He's going to hit 40 bombs.
Yeah.
105 RBIs, 125 runs scored, and 13 steals. Dude's a stud. He is an absolute stud. Anything on Mook?
Man, I mean, I second everything you said. I mean, he you could make a very strong argument that he's the second or third overall pick in most drafts next year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that good, especially with second base eligibility. I mean, the guy is a fantasy cheat code.
Yep. I'm with you, dude. Switching gears. switching gears, because I could talk about Mookie all day. We could have a whole 45-minute podcast about Mookie.
We got the off season for that.
Dude, you better believe it. Least, buckle up, guys. Just like Mookie Betts. I'm going to tell you his story. He's from right down the road. Let's see. Yeah. Least valuable player, Will. We're going to take it a different direction, buddy. One that bums me out, but here we go. Tell me about your LVP.
Yeah, so I, here's the thing. I feel like we need to do this just for the sake of the show, but this is hard, to be honest with you, because you're just kind of singling a couple of guys out, and rightly or wrongly, I came up with 2.
Here we go.
And again, similar to kind of like what I did with what I explained about Corbin Carroll, kind of where he went in drafts, I also factored that in my LVPs.
Yeah.
Because these guys both were picked with premium draft picks heading into the season for most everybody who drafted them. And, man, you talk about disappointments.
Yeah.
These guys are disappointing for one reason or another. And so my first one, as much as I hate to say it, Mike Trout, even when he was on the field this year and healthy, he wasn't that good.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt, basically missed pretty much the entire second half of the season. And so, I always say, sometimes the best trade in fantasy is availability, and he just wasn't there. And so Mike Trout's one of them. The other one is Carlos Rodon.
Yeah.
This guy was a consistent top 10 arm going into the year before we figured out that there was some sort of injury going on.
Yep.
And some guys drafted him with the hope, hey, he'll be back, a couple of months in the season. He's pitching in Yankee Stadium, plays on it we thought was going to be a good team in the Yankees.
Uh-huh.
And we thought he would be kind of pick up right where he left off, and that has not been the case.
Nope.
Even when he got healthy, he's been not good. And so, again, both of these guys were picked with very premium high draft picks. They've both disappointed. And so those, Mike Trout, Carlos Rodon, are my co-LVPs for 2023.
Oh, here we go. Not liking co-valuable players, but you went with 2.
Yeah.
I'm with you, dude. I didn't like the guy I put down, but as I sat and thought about my teams, this was the guy that hurt me the most.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy that put me in the hole that was the hardest to dig out of, and it was no fault of his own, but Edwin Diaz, man. I talked about this in previous shows. I really fell in love with the idea of taking a closer in the third round, getting that guy who's going to be lights out. Remember go back to the Wayback Machine when we thought the Mets were going to win 100 games, and this guy was going to be shutting the door. And how iconic it was in 2022 when he came out of that bullpen and the music was playing and the crowd was pumping him up, and he was just lights out.
Yep.
And for him to get hurt, and again, no fault of his celebrating a win in the WBC, and we can't fault him for that. But it was a tough thing to dig out of a lot of teams, and
you just literally can't replace him. Literally can't replace him.
It's like not having a draft pick. I mean, because by the time you get to replace him, you're dealing with waiver wire stuff, and now you're trying to replace a 1A closer. You just can't do it, like you said. So. Edwin, come back and crush it next year, dude. I think he could. And I think as he goes, that Mets team, we'll see him kind of do their thing once again. I'm excited to see what Cohen does in the offseason. And we're going to break it down for you guys. So keep it tuned in here, BTH. Anything on Diaz before we move on to the...
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. Think of it this way. Think of Edwin Diaz. You were probably going to get something similar to what Felix Bautista did in Baltimore this year before he got hurt.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so, at minimum, even if the ERA wasn't quite as good, at minimum you're going to get the insane strikeout rates and just a ton of saves and just a guy that basically helps you in every facet in the fantasy game other than just, bulk innings like a starter would.
Yep. You're 100% correct, dude. Just like we talked about. And Will, again, it's going to be one of those things where you look forward to diving into kind of where do we put him now?
Yep.
After a year away from the game. Maybe he'll be in this category next year, Will. The biggest riser for you, bud, in the year. Tell me about him. I like your pick.
Yeah, this was a fun one for me because there were so many guys I felt like that we could consider. Obviously, Corbin Carroll obviously came to mind, but since I gave him my MVP, I wasn't going to give him multiple awards. But I think the guy that I chose this year, I honestly I think he's going to be one of the absolute biggest risers when it's all said and done. So I went with Zach Eflin. Obviously, he's a Tampa Bay Ray, so I've kept a very close eye on him all the way through. But I tell you what, man, going into the year, he was a guy that a lot of people just kind of took a flyer on in the late rounds.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything really was going to be crazy. You're just hoping – with a late round pick that you hit on something and he has kind of a career year. Well, he's done that. And then some. He's tied for the lead, I think, in the AL in wins. Everything else is up. I mean, like his ERA has been better than it's ever been. His WHIP, his strikeouts. He looks like, to me, he honestly looks like a top 10 starting pitcher moving forward. And I was kind of hoping, because I did pick him in the late rounds of my drafts, and my only thought was the Rays went and really aggressively pursued this guy. They know something that a lot of teams don't, and I'm just going to trust in that, and I'm just going to take a flyer on him. And I tell you what, man, he looks awesome. He really does.
Biggest free agent contract in Rays history, dude.
Yeah.
And you know what you could pencil in, seriously? Any free agent pitcher that the Rays go out and sign, you just put them here. Because they just, dude, I can't explain it. It's what they do, and it must be nice as I'm dressed in my Red Sox garb.
And speaking of risers, he's going to go from undrafted in a lot of leagues going into this year to a guy who's probably going to go in, I don't know, around the 10th to 15th overall starting pitcher. So that's probably going to be 6th, 7th round next year.
Dude, it's something else. I like that one. Hey, I went with Jonah Heim of the Texas Rangers. The 28-year-old backstop had a great year. And, I wrote it came out of nowhere. It kind of didn't. He had the pieces and has played well. But 2023, listen to some of these stats. A 263 average, 18 home runs, 91 RBIs, 59 runs, an OPS of 771. In 2022, that OPS was 697, so almost 100 points more this year. A 227 average, 16 home runs, and 48 RBIs. So this guy has come and really been a piece that I don't think a lot of people expected that has gelled with that Texas team, and a reason why they're in first place right now, a reason why they were in first place most of the year, and their offense has been popping. So I like Jonah. Dude, this is a guy I picked up. We didn't draft this guy. He was off of waivers for sure. And, and I've been riding with him in all the leagues I picked him up. So, in catcher, in a position where, dude, I could have put Kirk in the next category, honestly. True. But in a position where, we're always thirsting for catcher's team, this guy really came out of nowhere. And I like we said about Eflin, this guy will go middle of the draft for sure. Biggest followers, dude. We got a couple of studs here. Tell me about your pick.
Man, could have also gone with several on this one. But the guy that I'm going with, I kind of had a feeling that he was going to go a little bit higher than he should in a lot of drafts going into the season because there was a lot of hype about him, and I was very cautious about him. If you go back to our starting pitcher pre-ranking episode before the season, I was skeptical of this guy. Yeah. And I had no idea it would be this bad, but it was really bad this year.
Yep.
Barring his last start. His last start was incredible.
It's my socks. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But Dylan Cease, I think, has really I think he's going to really fall based on where he was drafted this year, and when we fast forward to 2024, I think you're going to see a significant gap. This was a guy. Let's rewind to 2023 really quick. He finished second in the AL Cy Young voting.
Yep.
One of the absolute top K per 9 strikeout guys for starting pitchers. A lot of experts out there were picking this guy to possibly be the #1 overall starting pitcher moving forward because of the strikeout rate. Mm-hmm. And, man, it has just been an unmitigated disaster. His ERA has been awful. The whip is just unstartable.
Yeah.
The Ks, even though they're okay by league standard, nowhere close to where they were a year ago. And it's just been, just like the White Sox, the team that he plays on, it's just been a very disastrous season. I think at best next year, somebody still taps, hoping for the upside, picks him in the middle rounds potentially. But, man, what a disappointing year, especially for somebody who picked this guy, in the 3rd, 4th round of a fantasy draft. It's just a killer.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, the last 3 years, over 200 Ks each season. In 21, 226. In 22, 227. And then 207 this year.
Yeah.
Listen to these whips, 1.2, 1.1, and 1.4.
Nope.
So there's the issue, dude. I mean, we just walking. Lots of people walks are up and home runs are up, and that's just it's not going to work, dude. It's not going to work. Yeah, I'm with you. I like that pick. My guy, you know who I'm going with.
I do.
Alek Manoah, baby. Wait, listen.
Yep.
One more jab in the 2023 season, okay? From the man who refused to give up on this guy. You talked about Cy Young voting. Manoah was 3rd.
Yeah.
So there you go, dude.
2nd and 3rd in the AL a year ago is our
biggest followers.
Yes.
But are they not deserving, dude? I mean,
absolutely.
This guy's not even playing baseball right now. What are we talking about? It's just it's unbelievable. I mean, you hear about slumps and like sophomore slumps, or I guess this would be like junior year because I think he played a little bit in 21. But for everything to go down the way it did with Manoah, to the point where he might not break with the big club next year. I mean, this guy might go from drafted as somebody's SP1 to undrafted. I mean, seriously, because it's going to be a late round pick. I promise you that, unless you're me, and you have 2 firsts. And then you might just take him early. No, but dude, yeah, I hate to just piggyback on your Cy Young 2022 edition here, but yeah, biggest follower, Alek Manoah.
It's a good one.
Any parting words for?
No, man, I'm with you, man. It's just like I said a week ago. It's a sad situation turning ugly, and yeah, man, it's a long road ahead for him. He's going to really have to get some stuff in gear to even make the team next year. For sure. Okay, moving right along. Couple more, and then we go to our mystery awards. I'm pretty excited. Okay, Will, here we go. Favorite waiver wire edition. Let me hear it. Yeah, man. So, again, some of these are tough, man, because you think of several names that kind of pop into your head, but the guy that I'm going with is Yanier Cano for the Orioles. This is a guy that for most of the year was the setup guy for Felix Bautista in Baltimore. And I'll tell you what, for the majority of the year, his ERA was right around like a 1 or even under a 1. Man, what an incredible find, first of all, that Baltimore, because he was kind of an afterthought in a deal that they made a year or so ago. And he turned into all of a sudden the best setup man in the league.
Yeah.
And now that Felix Bautista's been hurt, he's turned into kind of their makeshift closer. And even though he's had a couple of blown saves, man, what an incredible year. What an incredible find, not only for Baltimore, but for people who picked him up off of waivers early in the year. Because even though he's a setup guy, at least starting the year, he was an asset to any fantasy team that happened to pick him up. So that's my guy that I'm rolling with.
Yeah, dude. 1-4, a 2.17 ERA, a 1.02 WHIP, 60 Ks, 7 saves. He actually blew 6 saves. But that's how good the peripherals were. If you were in a holds league, this dude was a cheat code.
Yes.
Because you're going for, like, literally what team could be the number 1 seed in the AL, and this dude's just gonna get those holds.
Lights out.
Lights out, dude. He's disgusting. He is disgusting. And everything you said about him. I think he was in that Twins deal where they Jorge Lopez.
Yes.
He was like a throwing piece there. So yeah, good for them, dude. The rich get richer in the back half of that bullpen in Baltimore. My guy, speaking of rich, Rolls-Royce Lewis. Never heard him called that, but I'm trying to start.
I like it.
I think, dude, if he could stop rolling ankles and hamstrings and stuff, maybe he's down the floor. He's hurt again.
Yep.
They're saying he could return October 1st, so we'll see. But this guy, we talk about him a lot. I think you mentioned him earlier. He's a former first overall pick for the Twins. He's like Byron Buxton light, can't stay healthy, but man, he hit about 75 grand slams this year. And I picked him up last year and loved what he did. Outfielder, infielder. And so when he came back, picked him up again. And he stayed healthy for a good part of the year. He missed some games, as Twins do. But, I like this guy, and we'll see where he goes. I think the injury bug tax is going to play a role. But, dude, talent, he is up there with shortstops if he could just stay healthy, dude. I know you like him. Anything on Lewis?
Yeah, no, everything you said, I definitely like him a lot. The injuries scare me for sure, but here's the thing: he's still young. It's not like
24.
we're talking about a guy. Yeah, it's not like we're talking about a guy who's like 30, 31, 32. He's still 24. So if he can just put a full season together, and show that he can stay on the field for 140, 150 games. Man, we're talking about a guy who will be an early round pick if he does that. Yeah. Right? So you've heard it here. You're hearing it here first. This is going to be a guy, though, you're going to read all the experts out there. This is going to be a sleeper. Like, this is going to be everybody's sleeper going into next year. Yeah. And I really don't think he's probably going to go as low as maybe we think he will, because I just think that a lot of writers are going to write about him in the offseason and basically say what we're saying. If the guy can put a full season together, everything's there for the taking. And so I love the guy. And, keep an eye on Royce Lewis moving forward.
I like it. Trying to see how many games. Yeah, 58 games. He had 15 home runs, 52 RBIs. So that's play
awesome.
Six bags if he can stay healthy. If he keeps getting hurt, might be like Buxton. But he is fast. But you know how they don't let Buxton steal anymore.
Yeah.
We'll see. Last normal award, the Best Young Pup Award. This is for a player that's under 25. Go, Will, go.
So, again, this is one where I normally would have taken Corbin Carroll here, but since he was my MVP, I wanted to give a shout-out to somebody else. Yeah. I'm going Gunnar Henderson in Baltimore, and I understand he got off to a super slow start this year, and that is what it is. But here's the thing. If you look at his season after about a couple of months in, reminds me a little bit of kind of like what Michael Harris did in Atlanta. He got off to a crazy slow start, and then he all of a sudden looked like a superstar player.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gunnar Henderson. I think Gunnar Henderson is going to be an absolute cornerstone of the Baltimore Orioles organization for a long time to come if they're willing to pay him, because it's going to eventually come to that. I think him and Adley Rutschman are the two pieces there that Baltimore has to do whatever it takes to hang on to those two. I think Gunnar Henderson's going to be a guy that contends for MVP awards in the next couple of years. And so I just very high on him. He's starting to figure out how to hit against lefties, which I think was a big step for Baltimore as an organization to see this year. And I just think sky's the limit moving forward for this guy. You talk about a riser here too. This guy's going to go early next year.
Yeah. Yep, dude. We talked about him last week. He'll have that third base eligibility, and he's just a stud, dude. I mean, Baltimore,
he's a great player.
They got their guy, and it's good for them, man. East. Get out of the East with all these great players, guys, okay? I'm sick of it. We got Bichette, Vlad, Adley. I mean, come on. Give me a break. You know where they need to go, Will? The Central. Go to Central. Help those teams. That's kind of realignment. We don't mean moving teams. We mean moving players off of teams in the East.
You heard it here first. Gunnar Henderson to the Tigers.
To the Tigers. Oh, that's awesome. Breaking news from Will there. Okay, my guy, it's too easy, but the first guy I thought of, Julio Rodriguez, and here's the reason why. Just like you said with Gunnar, he was Ice Cubes.
Mm-hmm.
To start the year. He really was. But he's turned it around. Unbelievable finish to the season. 31 home runs, 100 RBIs, 36 steals. So he's the youngest to do that, I think, or something. I know his dad was excited about something. I'm totally blanking. It's late at night, team. Please bear with me. He's turned this Seattle season around, man. These guys were out of it. I mean, the Angels were closer to a wild card spot than they were at the break.
Yep.
And this guy turned it around, and so did the Mariners. So very excited for what he could do. I mean, and who knows where he'll go. He's top 5 for sure. But we've seen him go 1-1, and
I think he will be. Just my opinion. I think in most drafts next year, I think he'll go 2 or 3.
2 behind Acuna.
Yeah, Acuna's going to be the consensus number 1 overall pick, and rightfully so.
Yep.
But I think Julio's going to go 2 or 3 in pretty much every draft out there next year. I think he's the one guy. I really believe he's the one guy that can somewhat duplicate kind of what Acuna's doing if he puts it all together.
Yeah, I like it.
And you mentioned this, as he goes, Seattle goes. I don't know if there's one player in the whole league that basically whatever this said player does for his team, the team that follows, he is the guy. If he's on fire, Seattle's going to go on a tear. If he's cold, Seattle's not winning. Yep. And so, I like that.
Kobe used to do that. You know, the team's post Shaq. It was like, okay. Mystery award number 1, Will, and I see the guy's name, Whoopsie Daisies. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
So tell me about this award. It's the Under the Radar Glue Guy Award.
So, this is okay, let me just say it this way. So I think in every really good fantasy team, and those of you guys who are new to fantasy or maybe played it for the first time this year, first of all, I hope you had fun with it. That's the main thing.
Amen.
But I think as you get more advanced and you learn some things kind of as you play more and more experience comes, I think one of the biggest keys, in my opinion, in building a really good fantasy team year in and year out is to find what I call glue guys and under the radar guys that a lot of people, they see them on your team and they don't immediately think superstar, but they click on their stats and they're like, holy cow, this guy's really, really good.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say my award is the Under the Radar Glue Guy Award. And for 2023, it goes to Yandy Diaz. And hey, I'm a Rays fan, but I'll wait for somebody to tell me an under the radar guy that produces on an incredible team, and helps his team, not only the Rays but fantasy teams who have Yandy Diaz, who helps those teams win more. And I can almost guarantee you, teams in fantasy that have Yandy Diaz on their team, I bet you they're near the top of the standings.
Yeah. No, that was a stat last year, too. Like 73% of teams, I remember reading, they were in the playoffs if you had Yandy. Yeah, dude, he's awesome. I think it's a beautiful point, and, it's a little foreshadowing for our heat check. Or not heat check, our Roman Candle player of the week, because I think you picked him. And I mean, dude just doesn't get out. He's awesome. And it's I love that award. I think it's perfect for him. And good for you for going with your guy. Let me tell you about my mystery award. I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't think it's on the sheet. It's the How the Turn Tables Award.
Can you give me a little bit of like a brief description?
Okay, so this is an award, based off of the show The Office, which I know Will's not a huge fan of, but the people love The Office. And it's when Michael goes off to start his own paper company, and then he comes back because Dunder Mifflin has to buy him out because he's stealing all their clients. And he looks at the CEO of Dunder Mifflin, David Wallace, and says, "How the turntables." And this goes to the player who had such a terrible start that people were dropping him, and then people picked him back up and or traded for him in the second half of the year. And he plays for a team in the National League.
Atlanta Michael Harris.
Michael Harris. Michael Scott in The Office. Michael Harris on the Braves. Great guess, Will. Excellent guess, my friend. Let me tell you some numbers, dude, because let's start at the beginning. That's the best place to start. Yep. ADP of 25 this year, right? So, I mean, we were going for this kid, this young kid who had really just a great half of a season last year. And, dude, he was putrid. I mean, so terrible to start the year. How about in let's see, I had some stats written down somewhere.
So do you remember, while you're looking at those, do you remember we were actually having conversations in the first few weeks of the season, if it wasn't for his defense and the Braves being so good, like, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that in a lot of other teams would have sent him down. That's how bad it was.
Oh, yeah. So I have his numbers here after July 1st. So let me tell you those while I'm also clicking through. This is called multitasking, guys, which my father taught me. That's a good way of doing two things bad at once. But I put them somewhere. I remember writing them down, but I do not see them on my sheet. So here's after July 1st. This is like the come up for this guy in the 2023 season. A 315 average, 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, 46 runs scored. And he was batting primarily ninth at that time. And apparently that wasn't the best place to do the cutoff because that's not that bad. Let's see. The beginning of the year, though, let's go May. Let's go May to April. Let me shout out some numbers. How about did I just give up on this guy too early? Is that what I'm learning right now, Will? Let's see here.
No, he was bad the first 6 weeks at least.
He was so bad, dude, right? Yeah, middle of May. Yeah, here we go. 194. OPS of 576. Striking out quite a bit. One home run. That's what I remember. Dude, the pop wasn't there either. So he really turned it around. Had a pretty solid second half. I actually dropped him in an 8-team league and then picked him back up. And then I sold – what did I do on this other league? I sold kind of low on him to a Braves fan, and that Braves fan dropped him. I picked him up in the second half. So I was kind of like, well, okay, thank you. So, hey, Michael Harris, dude, what a year, and how the turns tabled on that year. Okay, tell me about your third award, and I don't remember what it was called. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to try and guess who it is, okay?
Yeah, you're good. So my other award is the Heartburn Award. So this is basically a guy who, whenever you start this guy, or if he comes into a game and you're just like holding your breath thinking that this could be amazing, that's why I've got him on my team, or this could go off the rails quickly.
Is it 2022 Craig Kimbrell?
Basically, yes, think of it that way.
Oh, okay. So, wait, it's a closer. Wait. Yeah, it's a closer. Jeez. Chapman. Aroldis Chapman.
That's a good guess. But it's Clay Holmes.
Oh, Yankees. Oh, okay.
So, 2023 Heartburn Award goes to Clay Holmes. Because here's the thing. If you watch Clay Holmes pitch, there's some games to where he comes in and you're like, oh, my God, how does anybody ever hit this guy? He throws about a 99-mile-an-hour sinker that you can visibly see the ball sinking, and it's pretty incredible when he's on.
Yeah.
Now, there's other games, though. He comes in, and he literally cannot throw a strike.
Yeah.
And before you know it, like if you happen to have him on your fantasy team, he comes in for 1 inning, and he walks 4 guys, gives up 2 runs, and, only records 1 out. And that's just a disaster for all of your ratios. And so, anyways, all that to say, Clay Holmes is the recipient this year of my 2023 Heartburn Award. And yes, in previous years, it would have been Craig Kimbrell.
Dude, let me tell you, that's a great award. I love that award. That's a good one because it just fits so well, especially in like the middle. Do you remember in the middle of the year where he just literally would come in? I think the batters knew it too. Like he did not know where that ball was going.
Yes.
And just like phantom IL this man or something. But okay, I like that one, Will. That's a good one. Our last award, mystery award number 4, the Cy Young Award. Who's it going to, Will?
I want to say Alek Manoah.
I thought about it. Okay, I'll tell you who it is. Unless you want to guess again, you can say no.
I'm assuming, okay, tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm assuming this is going to a pitcher that was very disappointing.
That would have been better. Can we tell who it was?
Yeah, go for it.
So the Cy Young Award goes to Blake Snell because this guy, is one slow starter. Has been like the last 3 or 4 seasons. You love this guy. And the big thing about him is his whip. Same thing kind of with Clay Holmes. I think there's they share a little bit similarity there.
Yeah.
This guy, let's talk about stats before June. 11 starts, a 1-6 record with a 4.50 ERA, a 1.5 whip. 1.5 whip. It's 1.5 people on base per inning. That's really bad. 61 Ks in 56 innings pitched. His last 20 starts after June, 13-3 with a 1.30 ERA, a 1.05 whip, 166 Ks in 118 innings. So he's been lights out. But I'm not done because here's where the Cy comes from, team. Okay, this dude 5 walks per 9.
Yeah.
His whip in those last 20 starts 1.05, which means if you're keeping score at home, he's not giving up hits. He's walking people. He walks people. And, dude, he would put up some ridiculous numbers. And he's going to be a free agent this offseason, Lord willing. Next time we talk, he's wearing a Red Sox uniform because we need some pitching in Boston. But, dude, this guy, if he could figure out how not to walk people, I mean, he would win. And here's the deal. This will be his second Cy Young if he can pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
I
think he's almost a shoo-in for NL Cy Young now.
It's him or Still got ripped the other day. And
I think it's Snell.
I mean, it's got to be. And you can look at the strikeout numbers for Strider, and they're great. And that's a good argument too. But I think the complete package, you go Snell. So he is the recipient of the Cy Young Award.
I love that. No, I love it. So let me close the book on Snell real quick. So
let's hear it.
I think he's going to be honestly one of the most interesting guys to figure out and kind of pinpoint where does he belong in the hierarchy of starting pitcher ranks going into 2024. And I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion when we get into that and take a deep dive into it. Mm-hmm. But here's just kind of my initial thoughts on it. And I'll put it this way. So I think all of you guys who are our loyal listeners understand kind of like what I look for when I'm looking at a starting pitcher for my fantasy team. Normally, I hate, and I mean hate, guys that walk a ton of batters.
Yeah.
Snell is the only guy that I've really aggressively tried to pursue this year that I've ever tried to pursue that walked as many batters as he did. And it's exactly what you said, Cody. I've never seen a guy who gives up as few hits as he does. It's almost like even though he walks almost a guy every inning or two, it's like, well, they still can't hit him. And so, therefore, he's not giving up any runs. And so, so keep in mind, Snell came up with a raise. Remember, this was the same guy that shut down the Dodgers in that World Series, like literally shut them down in that incredible lineup that ended up winning that World Series. And so the talent, the stuff has never been a question.
Yeah.
And this year, he's figured it out again. He's effectively wild. He's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
But this guy, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be one of the top arms in the game moving forward.
Yeah, I love what you said, effectively wild. I think it plays into his game, you know.
It does.
He can pepper the top of the zone, and then when that curveball, he can obviously, you know, it can drop out on you, or he can put it in the strike zone for a strike. He's a lot of fun to watch. Does he always look sleepy out there? 100% of the time he looks sleepy, you know. But is he like an A-list pitcher? I think he is, and we'll see
do too.
What kind of money he
I think he's going to be arguably the top free agent other than Ohtani this offseason. I really believe that. I think he's going to get a massive payday from somebody.
Yeah.
Because he's still young. He's a lefty.
Yep.
And he's a true number one. And those guys don't come around very often with this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And, yeah, I tell you what, man, I think he's going to get a massive payday.
Yep, and when he does, it'll be well-deserved because not that many two-time Cy Young Award winners walking around. And really, 2.5 if you consider the Cy Young Award that he won here tonight. So, dude is, you know, he's filling up the trophy case. Speaking of filling up the trophy case, Will, you know, let's talk Week 24 results here, guys. The Roman Candle Player of the Week. Pick to click. Player of the week. Will's up 12-5. Okay, so he's got the win. Okay, he's got the win. I watched some Cubs baseball because I'm like, are these guys gonna? Cubs were kind of pulling a 2009 Red Sox.
Yeah.
2010 when they had like a 9-game lead and then they just lost in September. I have forgotten because seriously that was the worst. But dude. Ian Happ went off for me, but Yandy Diaz for you. We kind of spoke about it earlier. He just didn't get out. How about 10 for 23, a .435 average, 3 doubles, 1 home run, 3 RBIs, and a 1.24 OPS. Leadoff spot for the Rays, baby. I mean, they're just doing their thing. My guy, Ian Happ, also very respectable. 8 for 22, a .364 average, 3 doubles, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. You know, it's close. It's always going to be close. A 1.118 OPS. Got to give it to you, dude. Almost 500 is nutty. And he got on base. I think he got hurt tonight. So fingers crossed he's okay. I think it's a hammy. So hopefully it'll be okay. Dude. Congratulations. Big dub there. Tell me about your pick.
Though. Those were both really, really good picks. You couldn't have gone wrong either way.
There's just no doubt. You're exactly right. I mean, pretty solid all the way around. Week 25, and this is the final week, guys, because obviously next week we're just talking results because we'll be talking playoff baseball. Tell me about it, bud.
Yeah, so my last one, my last pick to click for 2023 season at least, is Alec Boehm. I think the Phillies are going to clinch probably the number 1 NL wildcard spot at some point early this week. But I tell you what, Alec Boehm has been a guy that had a lot of promise coming up through that organization. He was kind of disappointing at the very beginning of his stint there. You know, the Philly fans were on him for a while.
Yes.
And then after that incident, though, it's like it was a game changer.
Yep.
And I swear, ever since that incident with him and the Philly fans, it's almost like he's one of their own now. And he's playing with a lot of confidence. He hits in the middle of that lineup, typically around 5th in that lineup. Pretty much pencil him in every day. And he is a key cog in that really potent lineup in Philadelphia. And so he's a guy to keep your eye out on. If the Phillies do end up making a run this postseason, I think Boehm is going to be a kind of a key guy for them. And so look for him to have a big week this week as they try to, you know, clinch that number 1 wild card spot. And so he is my my final 2023 pick for the season.
Dude, that's very exciting. I love that pick, and I'm with you. Everything you said, it could have went really terrible.
Yep.
When what came, like, dude, when that got caught on hot mics. Anybody not know what we're talking about? I think he got caught on a hot mic saying, or like they
I hate this place.
Yeah, I said I hate this place, and you could just read his lips. He was talking about Philly after they booed him because he made an error at third base. And I mean, it could have went one of two ways. And shout out to everybody involved, Philly fans. And Alec Boehm for making the best of, honestly, kind of a situation I've never seen before. So,
right.
Good for him, and he's had a great year. My guy is a Houston Astro because I need them to pick it up, okay? I'm wearing my Red Sox gear here tonight. I'm starting to wonder, like, is this bad baseball? Am I radiating that to the teams that I'm rooting for? Because what is going on, dude? I need Jeremy Pena, but not just Jeremy Pena, everybody else. You got swept by the Royals.
Yeah.
You got swept by the Royals. I could say you don't deserve to make the playoffs, and I don't feel like that's too out of line.
Yeah.
You better step up tomorrow because I believe Texas is coming to town. Or no, it's
Seattle.
They're going to Seattle.
Yes.
So yeah, way to finish off your homestand in Houston, getting swept by Kansas City, a team with 102 losses. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I honestly just closed my eyes and pointed to a Houston Astro player because come the heck on, you were a half game up, so obviously not like very well seated in there going into this playoff. But now Texas, dude, you want to talk about driver's seat? 2.5 games up, and they hold the tiebreaker over Seattle. I believe Houston owns the tiebreaker over Texas. It's like a 3-way deal.
Yeah.
Everybody holds the tiebreaker over everybody. So. You're going to Seattle Monday night. Better show out. I want to see Jeremy Pena do something.
This series,
yep,
I think is going to determine the last wild card spot. I think Seattle, Houston, whatever happens in these upcoming games, I think is going to determine that final spot. I really do, and I'm with you. I think it's go time, man. It is now or never. If you're in the Houston Astros clubhouse right now. Absolutely, dude. It is. It's time to go. And speaking of it's time to go, it is every bit of time to go for us guys. We're hitting the 110 mark. So if you're here, let me just say we appreciate you. And what a blessing this ride has been through our first regular season doing this. I mean, this is – I really wasn't even planning on saying this stuff, Will, but it just kind of hit me like next week we're talking playoff ball, you know? It's like wild card series, and that's back to where we started all this fun stuff was when in the championship series last year. So this is pretty special for us. Any parting words, man? Dude, all you did was run it this year. You just won our league, and now you're with a week to go. You're up pretty handily in the Bringing the Heat league. Dude, anything to tell the people? Yeah, man, it's been an awesome year. Shout out to you as well, Cody. You do an awesome job on all the behind the scenes stuff for our show. It is much appreciated, for sure. But I don't know, man. I'm with you. I was just thinking, I was like, man, next week's number 50. I know. You know? And so, and how fitting is it that number 50 is essentially closing the book on the 2023 regular season and heading into the playoffs? I don't know. It's just pretty cool when you think of it that way. But just shout out to you. Shout out to everybody who listens. And it's a lot of fun. And, man, I'm honestly ready for postseason baseball, though. So postseason baseball is going to be awesome. And then – hey, our second off season is going to be pretty awesome too. That's going to be fun. I'm excited, man. It's just been a gift and a blessing to do this with you, guys. It's been 48, man. Reach out to us, or excuse me, it's been 49. 49. We're not skipping 49. This is 49 right now. 50's next week. We just went over that. Okay. Hey, reach out to us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. If you got fantasy stuff, I'd reach out to Will because obviously, he's got receipts and he's just crushing it. And then check us out on YouTube. If you're on the YouTube side, we appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button. And I apologize. This is kind of like my flu game. I don't know if you can tell on the mic, but periodically on the video, I've been kind of leaning out of shot. I hope, fingers crossed, the whole time I've been thinking like,
when I go to edit these videos, Will, sometimes the shot's bigger than I think it is. So I'm probably just leaning over and tissuing my. Yeah, we're gonna you know rain or shine, 50 weeks in a row, 52 weeks. We're gonna keep rolling, guys. But we appreciate you through and through. This has been 49. But until next time, thanks for listening. See ya.